I think one of the most damaging things about emotional inconsistency is that it doesn't hurt all at once. If somebody betrays you clearly, eventually your mind accepts it. If somebody leaves completely, eventually reality settles in. But confusion is different. Confusion keeps people emotionally attached far longer than certainty ever could. Because when somebody keeps giving you just enough connection, just enough reassurance, just enough hope, your mind struggles to let go of the possibility. And I think a lot of people slowly lose themselves inside that cycle without realizing it. Because emotional confusion rarely starts loudly. Usually, it starts quietly. A slight change in effort, less consistency, longer silences, energy shifting without explanation. Nothing dramatic enough to walk away immediately, just enough distance to create uncertainty. And uncertainty is dangerous because the human mind naturally tries to resolve emotional uncertainty. You start analyzing behavior, analyzing tone changes, analyzing replies, trying to understand whether a connection is growing or slowly disappearing. And I think that's why emotional inconsistent relationships become so mentally exhausting. Not because every moment is bad, but because some moments still feel incredibly good. And those moments become emotionally addictive. Because every time the connection returns, it feels like relief. Relief from the distance, relief from the anxiety, relief from emotional withdrawal. And eventually, you stop chasing healthy love. You start chasing emotional relief. I think one of the hardest things to accept is that some people can genuinely care about you and still never choose you properly. Not because every moment was fake, not because the connection meant nothing, but because feelings and consistency are not the same thing. And I think people learn that lesson too late sometimes. Because when somebody hurts you clearly, your mind eventually accepts reality. But confusion keeps hope alive, and hope is difficult to grieve. Some people don't leave a life all at once. They leave in pieces. First the consistency disappears, then the reassurance, then the effort. But every now and again, they return just enough to stop you from fully letting go. A message, a phone call, a good conversation, a version of them that briefly feels familiar again. And suddenly, your mind starts rebuilding a future from temporary emotions. And I think people underestimate what inconsistency actually does psychologically. Because eventually, your nervous system becomes attached to the cycle itself. The return starts feeling more powerful than the connection. A simple conversation suddenly feels emotionally intense. Basic reassurance starts feeling special. Not because the standard is high, but because inconsistency lowered the standard so much, and that's why people stay emotionally trapped longer than they should. Not because they're weak, but because inconsistency creates dependency. You become attached to finally getting the connection back, not the stability of actually having it. And the dangerous part is, sometimes the good moments are genuinely good. Sometimes the affection feels real. Sometimes the conversations are real. Sometimes they do miss you, at least in the only way they currently know how. And that's why it keeps people emotionally trapped for months, sometimes even years. Because now, you're not just grieving a person, you're grieving potential. The version of the relationship that almost existed. The future that kept sounding possible but never fully arrived. I remember reaching a point where the relationship itself wasn't even the most exhausting part anymore. It was the uncertainty, never fully knowing where you stood emotionally, never fully relaxing into the connection, always feeling like emotional closeness had an expiry date attached to it. There would be moments where everything felt normal again, long conversations, affection, future plans, moments that made you think, maybe things are different now, and then slowly, distance again, withdrawal again, confusion again. Like the connection only existed properly in temporary windows. And eventually, you start reacting to reality. You start reacting to the possibility. You start holding on to moments instead of patterns. And I think one of the hardest truths to accept is this. Some people repeatedly show you the truth, but because the truth hurts, you keep searching for a different interpretation. You replay the good moments. You focus on potential. You tell yourself they're confused. You tell yourself the timing is the problem. You tell yourself they care deep down. Because accepting reality sometimes means accepting grief, and grief forces endings. So instead, people stay emotionally suspended between hope and disappointment. Not fully happy, not fully detached, just emotionally waiting for consistency, waiting for clarity, waiting for the relationship to finally become what it almost was from the beginning. And the almost emotionally traps people for a very long time. I don't think people realize how exhausting uncertainty becomes. Not the arguments, not even the distance, the uncertainty. Checking your phone for reassurance, overthinking delayed replies, analyzing emotional shifts, feeling temporary emotional highs followed by emotional crashes when the energy changes again. And the worst part is, sometimes you don't even realize how much of yourself you've lost while trying to hold on to somebody else, until one day you realize you miss yourself more than you miss them. You miss your peace, you miss your emotional stability, you miss not needing reassurance just to feel calm. You miss the version of yourself that wasn't emotionally dependent on inconsistency. And I think that's the real turning point in healing. Not when you stop loving somebody, but when you finally become more afraid of losing yourself than losing the connection. Because eventually, you become emotionally exhausted from abandoning yourself to maintain access to somebody else. You get tired of overthinking, tired of emotional uncertainty, tired of pretending confusion still feels romantic. And slowly, you begin mourning yourself more than the relationship. The version of you that used to feel emotionally calm. The version of you that didn't need constant reassurance. The version that wasn't emotionally analyzing every interaction. And I honestly think healing begins there. Not when a relationship physically ends, but when your nervous system gets tired of surviving uncertainty, because some no access to you for as long as confusion still works. Clarity would end that access completely, and maybe that's why closure rarely comes from the people who created the confusion in the first place, because closure creates distance, but confusion keeps people emotionally available, and eventually you realize something painful. Some people were never fighting for the relationship in the same way you were. They were fighting to keep the connection alive, just enough to not fully lose you. And those are two very different things. But peace does return. Slowly. Quiet. It returns the moment you stop trying to decode people who already showed you the pattern. It returns when you stop romanticizing temporary consistency. It returns when you finally accept that love without emotional safety will always create anxiety. Maybe healing was never about forgetting them. Maybe healing was about finally remembering yourself again. Because some connections survive longer in your mind than they ever truly survived in reality. And maybe the real lesson in all of this, love should not require emotional survival. And the moment you stop treating temporary consistency like permanent change is usually the moment healing actually begins.